Hey everyone, how's it going? We've compared the 3 legendary beasts. We've compared the 3 legendary birds. We've seen Mewtwo trounce them all. However, what we have not seen are the 2 main box legendaries of Gold and Silver, of course, Ho-Oh and Lugia. In today's video, we will see how Ho-Oh does compared to the other legendaries we've seen so far. Right now, aside from Mewtwo, the 7 to 8 hour range seems about what legendary Pokemon are capable of. But Ho-Oh is, at least statistically, a lot better than these other legendaries. It has a base stat total of 680. That is 100 points higher than the other 6 legendaries we've dealt with so far. And Ho-Oh also has stats in some good places. Attack is absurdly high. Unfortunately, as a fire type, it's not going to take complete advantage of that. Its special attack, though, is still excellent and very good speed. And on the surface, it looks like it has a huge move pool. I mean, it can learn a ton of moves. So clearly, it's just going to trounce through the game, right? Well, before we answer that question, once again, a big thank you to Zen Market for sponsoring today's video. So if you don't know what Zen Market is, it is a proxy shopping service that helps you buy and ship goods directly from Japanese sites, which normally you wouldn't be able to do without a Japanese address. Using Zen Market is really simple. We're going to look for the sequel to the Pokemon trading card game, which never came out in North America. All I have to do is put its English name in the search bar and then search through the various options. You can see here on Japanese Yahoo Auctions, we have some results, as well as this result on Rakuten Rakuma, and all we would need to do is add it to our cart, easy peasy. But if you find a specific listing like this obscure Pokemon game from Suragaya, you just have to copy the link, put it into Zen Market, and bam, you then get 60 days of free storage and can ship all your items from one parcel, saving you money. These are just a few of the many reasons to shop with Zen Market. But they also have the Zen Market loyalty program, where based on how much you shop, you can get some balance credits and up to 1% cash back. So if you're looking to get items from Japan, then sign up for Zen Market. If you sign up now with the promo code JEROS11, that will give you 1,000 Zen points, which is equivalent to 1,000 yen off the international shipping fee, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's start off with Falconer, who unlike Brock is going to be very easy. You'll notice that Ho-Oh is at level 10. The reason for this are a couple of rules I've put in place for these runs in Gold, Silver, and Crystal. We always get the HM for Flash to make things easier and consistent, and I don't allow for hidden power. Not that Ho-Oh is going to need it. One thing you may have noticed is that I only had 2 Sacred Powers left. This is really lucky that there just happens to be only 3 Pokemon prior to Falconer. If this were Crystal, there'd be no mandatory trainers after this point until we got to Slowpoke Well, where we will get Swift. But this Hiker is mandatory in Gold and Silver. Obviously, we're playing in Gold since Ho-Oh, but we do get access to Mudslap thanks to Falconer, so we have 10 more power points, and we don't have to use Struggle, which, since we've gotten Safeguard at level 11, would take a very long time. Pretty fortuitous. Unsurprisingly, even with just 5 power points of Sacred Fire, Ho-Oh is going to make minced meat of the rest of the game until Bugsy. Now, against Metapod, I just go for 3 Swifts because, unfortunately, we only had 2 Sacred Fires left, but they are going to one-shot each of the Kakuna, and although Scyther gets a hit with Quick Attack, that was still, unsurprisingly, a very easy fight, so Ho-Oh is absolutely cruising. Rival 2 can sometimes be kind of difficult. I go for a couple Mudslaps on Ghastly to save Sacred Fire, and then we have Croconaw. Sacred Fire is the best attack, and with a crit, it does half. Swift finishes it off, and then I just go for Swift against Zubat. Saving power points is very important. The more power points I have, the less I have to go to Pokemon Centers, and the quicker we can get through the game. Unfortunately, Ho-Oh is not going to get another decent fire move for a while. And this is a good time to realize that while Ho-Oh can learn a lot of TMs in Gen 2, the ones it can learn aren't actually all that useful for it, and most of them aren't even damaging moves. So that massive looking move pool feels a lot more shallow, but at least we have Sacred Fire. But is that going to help us against Whitney? If we're doing this as fast as possible, Whitney is the next trainer we need to battle, but are we ready since we are a fire flying type? Sacred Fire doesn't one-shot Clefairy and does burn. We can go for Swift. But I don't know if we're going to outspeed Miltank, and we don't. It doesn't do so much with the first hit of Rollout, and we do get that burn. Sacred Fire is so good. But the second hit nearly knocks me out. Oh, yay! With the burn damage, Sacred Fire was a 2-hit KO. So even though we had a severe type mismatch, and we're using our less good special attack, Ho-Oh is a box legendary, and it's going to do those box legendary things. Double weakness, not going to matter so far, and we can progress to the next gym leader, Morty. And it feels like this video is going by fast. In real life, this had only taken me about 20 minutes, so it is going by fast. Morty sends out Ghastly. We have 4 Sacred Fires. We one-shot Ghastly. We one-shot Haunter. Do we outspeed Gengar? We don't, but it goes for Mean Look, and it's going to be a 2-shot. And that might be a little bit of a problem. Unfortunately, that reset was due to something happening off stream, and I didn't want to waste time. So we had to try it again. This time, however, things don't quite go as nicely. Hypnosis misses, and we get the burn, but then Hypnosis hits. Gengar is burned, which is nice, but it has Dream Eater, and even though it's not as dangerous as it is with Agatha in Gen 1, still good enough for a win. So, the first loss, real loss, Morty, of all people. In our third battle, but really our second, I decide to go for Mud Slap turn 1. We still get put to sleep. Dream Eater still hits, but no crit this time. I'm hoping to wake up after a Dream Eater miss. Then we get Mean Look, which is good, a Hypnosis miss, and after a Hypnosis miss again, the burn knocks out Morty. We can now delete Safeguard for Gust, but then you'll notice I reset because someone in chat told me a much better strategy I could have used. Watch this. So Ghastly, we're still going to go for Sacred Fire, same thing, but against Haunter, I'm going to go for Safeguard, and now Gengar can't put me to sleep. So there's really nothing to worry about. Although Shadow Ball can do quite a bit of damage, we still should win. And then we delete Safeguard, which, hey, we actually use it now. And then I can go for Mud Slap or Gust. And if only Sacred Fire had more power points, it wouldn't have taken so long. But yeah, 2 different ways. One a bit more luck-based, one a bit more using all our moves-based. And so I'm kind of glad I got to show off, hey, sometimes chat has good ideas. But yeah, Morty did win, and he actually won a few times while I was trying to set up the Safeguard strat, so full marks to Morty. Ho-Oh was stalled here. The next gym leader, however, isn't going to be too difficult. I mean, in a perfect world, they would program Chuck with rock moves, but this is Gen 2. Neither Primeape nor Poliwrath has a rock move, and although Poliwrath can use Hypnosis and Surf, which it probably should have done both times, Ho-Oh does first try victory with Gust. Man, that's the last time we have to use Gust. We're going to get Fly at this point, and unfortunately, Fly is the strongest flying move Ho-Oh can learn. Not great considering Ho-Oh's immense attack, but at least it's better than Gust. And now we can move on to either Jasmine or Price. I don't think either is going to give Ho-Oh a particularly hard time, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, Dugong and Steelix could be a little annoying, I guess. I would say Steelix is the one I'm more worried about, so even though I shouldn't be doing this, I'm going to battle Jasmine first, get it out of the way. We one-shot both Magnemite with Sacred Fire, and now it's up to Steelix. We go for Sacred Fire, but remember, Sacred Fire is a special move in Generation 2. So Steelix's immense defense doesn't counteract Sacred Fire the way it would in a modern Pokemon game, and it only had Rock Throw, not Rock Slide. So easy victory, also not same type. So easy victory, and we can move on to the incredibly boring, well, actually, we're just heading there, but the incredibly boring Team Rocket section before we battle Price. Price leads with Seal, a pure water Pokemon, so no Sacred Fire here, and we can use Shadow Ball, taking advantage of our attack. Icy Wind lowers our speed, but we still should outspeed Dugong. In theory, Sacred Fire would 2-hit, but unfortunately we get Rest, so it's going to be a 3-hit KO. And then Piloswine, it should one-shot. It does. Easy peasy. That's 7 gym leaders down, but arguably the most difficult gym leader still to go. We have a lot of boring trainers to fight before then, so we will get to level up, but I am a little curious how Clair will be, considering we don't necessarily have the best type matchup versus Dragon Pokemon, at least not with Sacred Fire. Well, her first Dragonair, I go for Shadow Ball, it doesn't quite one-shot, and she paralyzes me. Surf doesn't do all that much. Then the second Dragonair comes out, I decide to go for Fly and see how much that does. Maybe I should have done that. Oh, Fly can miss. See, that's annoying. But when Fly hits, it does one-shot. So I made a mistake. I thought Shadow Ball might one-shot, but we needed this. Oh, Fly doesn't necessarily one-shot. Okay. Kind of problematic. And Kingdra is a water Pokemon, so that is a bad matchup, and it's going to knock me out with Surf. So Clair does knock me out, but there's a couple things I can do. We have the Charcoal equipped, but we don't need that, so we will equip the Paralysis Cure Berry. We get it all the way back right after we defeat Falconer, and this is one of the 2 places it's very useful for. So now what we're going to do is go for Fly and hope it one-shots, but it doesn't. But Thunder Wave has a 1 in 4 chance of missing when used by the AI. We get lucky, knock out Dragonair. Dragonair 2, maybe we'll get lucky in one shot. Nope, but Thunderbolt, no paralysis, great. Dragonair 3, and 0 for 3. This time we're paralyzed, Paralysis Cure Berry does its job. We're kind of lucky, by the way. And now against Kingdra, I'm going to go for Fly. It is doing half, Surf does decent damage, but Ho-Oh's attack just too mighty, and even Clair, where we didn't one-shot her paralyzing Dragonairs, we still managed to defeat her in just 2 tries. And now all we have left is the Elite Four. Well, then Kanto and Red, who actually is the hardest, but we're looking pretty good. Our matchups don't look terrible, even Bruno. I think Ho-Oh should do okay, but Lance like Clair, we don't have the greatest matchup. Sacred Fire is our best move, and we don't really have any great way of using that effectively in that battle. So I'm very curious how it goes. Only one way to find out, right? So we start with Will, the Psychic type Elite Four member. You've seen me use Shadow Ball a couple of times, so you know I have it. And Shadow Ball is super effective against all 5 of Will's Pokemon. It doesn't one-shot Slowbro, which I guess a little unfortunate, but it does one-shot both Xatu. Executor, we do have Sacred Fire, and Shadow Ball doesn't one-shot that either, so if we have to face Will again, we'll know that. But Jinx is one-shot by Shadow Ball, so that is 7 Shadow Balls, 5 KOs, easy peasy. The next is Koga. Koga is Poison type, and we have a move for that, a move we acquired within Victory Road, and that is Earthquake. Now, Earthquake isn't super effective against Ariados, but Sacred Fire is. Against Muck, we can use Earthquake, and one-shot, clearly. Crobat is next, and we have to use Sacred Fire, but Crobat's really fast. It outspeeds us, and we miss because it went for Double Team. We do hit our second attack, which is good, but no burn. I decide to go for Shadow Ball to save power points, and I get Toxic. This is fine, I have full restores. Protect from Fortress, Sacred Fire easily one-shots, and Venomoth? Let's just go with Fly. Remember that in Gold and Silver, Elixirs and Ethers not as easy to come by. They're a lot more out of the way than they are in Red and Blue, so I prefer not to have to use any if I don't have to, but I will use one right now on Sacred Fire. It is my best move. So Bruno is next. Now, Bruno has way more fighting Pokemon than he does in Red and Blue, which is actually going to make him quite a bit easier. He goes for Quick Attack, but he also has Detect, and he seems to always use it when we go for Fly, which is smart from the AI. That means we have to go for Shadow Ball and hit him twice, but the rest of Bruno's team shouldn't be too bad. Earthquake actually doesn't one-shot Onix. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, Onix has very high defense. However, Hitmonchan, Sandstorm could actually... Wow, is Bruno going to beat me? Sandstorm does 1/8 as opposed to 1/16. I think we're fine. Yeah, it subsided, and Machamp did have Rock Slide, but it never hit me. There was some risk of losing if Fly were to have missed, but it doesn't, and we make it to Karen. Karen is very annoying in every single solo run because she just absolutely can't get enough of lowering her accuracy and just being the worst. Well, at least Umbreon can't, and Umbreon is quite bulky. I decide to go for Sacred Fire, but it doesn't even two-shot. And there we go. Sand attack. It hit. And so I decide to go for Fly. Umbreon is damaged by the burn, and I knock it out. Gengar is next. I go for Earthquake. It actually outspeeds, and thankfully Lick doesn't paralyze. With Murkrow, I opt not to go for Sacred Fire, which was a mistake because Fly has a chance of missing, which it does, but we knock it out in our next Fly. Houndoom we actually outspeed and go for Earthquake, and all that's left is Vileplume. Sacred Fire, let's just go for Fly. And that is it for Vileplume. The only reason I'm keeping Sacred Fire is the burn chance is pretty good, but it's probably not going to be super duper useful versus Lance. I don't really have anything super great to equip. I did forget a Paralysis Cure Berry, which would have been really nice, but we're already here. Might as well battle Lance, but not sure if I'm in the best position right now. So Gyarados, I have to go for Fly because it's my most powerful attack. And he goes for Rain Dance, which is the worst move because that actually is going to positively help him when he hits with Surf. It doesn't do too much, but hey, that's a big chunk with just one Pokemon knocked out. And now Fly hits Dragonite and we're paralyzed. Hyper Beam, full paralysis, Hyper Beam, Hyper Scream. That is not very good for Ho-Oh. I mean, look, it's great that Ho-Oh can kind of breeze through the first 4 Elite Four members, but Lance, that's looking like an entirely different story. In my very next attempt, I get back to Lance, but I did get some rare candies in the overworld. Nothing really changes much for Gyarados. I mean, we have more HP, but it's still a two-shot. Now out comes Dragonite number 1. We didn't even get by this one. We hit with Fly, and we still don't have the Paralysis Cure Berry. I actually forgot it again, which is frustrating. I get hit with Hyper Beam, and I'm paralyzed and below half HP, headed to Dragonite number 2. It misses with Blizzard, but then hits with Hyper Beam, which crits, and yeah, that's not good. Take 3 versus Lance. Still have yet to lose, although I did reset versus Karen because I was getting annoyed. And I'm gonna go for Fly twice. Same idea. Dragonite number 1. This time I do have the Paralysis Cure Berry. And we get a Thunder Wave miss. This is actually really big because that means this Dragonite is likely gonna go for Thunder Wave, which means my Paralysis Cure Berry will cure it. So we only have one more Dragonite to worry about, which is going to go for Thunder Wave. But Aerodactyl does no Rock Slide, and this could be a massive issue. It outspeeds, and Rock Slide misses. We don't get the burn. Rock Slide misses a second time. Oh my god, this is crazy. There's no way this just happened. What? That's a 1% chance. And a Hyper Beam miss? And a Hyper Beam miss on top of that. This is a 1 in 1,000 run. I can't believe it. Now, I was considering resetting, but I spent so long going back and forth because, I mean, come on, when am I ever going to get a run like this again? This is like getting a shiny Pokemon. Not quite. Actually, I think the luck was actually about that crazy with everything that happened with the Thunder Wave miss. Like, it's insane. But I digress. The game already had saved, so I couldn't reset. But here's the thing. As crazy luck as that is, this isn't the end of the game. Red is. And if you're going to save time versus Lance, that's going to help a little bit. But who's going to win between Ho-Oh and Lugia is going to come down to who has a good fight versus Red. And considering what we just saw versus Lance, Ho is going to have some issues versus some of those Pokemon. And because it didn't have to level up for Lance, it's going to have to make up those levels at some point, you might think. Before we do that, there are the Kanto gym leaders. They're not necessarily worth talking about, but in case you're wondering which order I went to, I beat Erica first. Very easy, Grass-type Pokemon. I find it's faster to battle Janine second. Her Pokemon are unbelievably underleveled, so Ho-Oh had absolutely no problem with that. I then will fly back to Saffron to head to Lavender, so might as well fight Sabrina. Sometimes she can be tough, but with Shadow Ball and Ho-Oh, she's not. I then have to do the whole machine part nonsense, and so I'm already in Cerulean, battling Misty. I have gotten the leftovers, you'll notice, from Celadon, and even though Misty has a massive type advantage, we still just obliterate her team. That's half of them. Surge is next. Surge, again, has a type advantage, but even his fastest Pokemon are gonna be outsped by an overleveled Ho-Oh at this point, so just one shot with Earthquake. Brock is where things might get a little interesting because Brock has such a massive type advantage. Earthquake does one-shot Graveler, and then I run out of Earthquakes. I actually forgot to go to the Pokemon Center. You might think, all right, well, that's it, we're done. But we're not. We just have to use Shadow Ball, and Brock's Pokemon, shockingly, don't really have rock moves. So even with a mistake and using a physical move, we still beat Brock. That's how much of a joke the Kanto gyms are. Next is Blaine. Blaine has fire Pokemon, and we have Earthquake. I think we all know how that's gonna go. And now Blue can pose an issue. He has a decently leveled up team, and Blue actually has Pokemon of different types. So Blue leads with Pidgeot, just like I'm playing Red and Blue. We go for Sacred Fire, and it doesn't one-shot. Mirror move Sacred Fire is not the best move. I have to go for Fly if I want to save power points, which is annoying, but is what it is. Now, Rhydon actually does have a rock move, but this Ho-Oh with its 80 horseshoes gets a critical hit. Of course it does. This Gyarados, however, goes for Rain Dance on our first turn, then when we hit, goes for Hydro Pump, does about half. That isn't a huge problem, especially because we recover while flying. Alakazam is next. We do outspeed in one shot with Shadow Ball. Man, this has just been an insane run for luck. Extreme Speed, oh well, we don't one shot. But the full restore is going to give us another leftovers turn, and it was a range. And the final Pokemon is Exeggutor. The rain has subsided, and we've made it to Red. If Ho-Oh can beat Red right now without having to level up anymore, it will be, other than Mewtwo, the best legendary Pokemon. But that is a massive, massive if. We saw versus Lance, Ho-Oh struggled versus Dragons, which Red doesn't have. But Blastoise, high defense, Rain Dance, water moves, that could be a really, really big issue. And we're not really close to Red's level. Even Pikachu outspeeding us and hitting us with Thunder could really cause a lot of problems. I don't know if Ho-Oh is ready, but we're about to find out. Red leads with Pikachu, level 81. We don't outspeed, and Charm lowers our attack. We cannot have that. So we have to reset, which is going to be annoying. Thunder does about half, and it paralyzes. So we have to reset. That's annoying. Thunder misses. And so we're going to one-shot Pikachu, but now what happens? Now we go for Fly, Rain Dance. It does about a quarter, and Surf pretty much just knocks me out right there. Yeah, that is not an option. That isn't going to work. So I do have Giga Drain. I have Zap Cannon. I have other moves I can use. I'm going to experiment a little bit, but which move should I get rid of? I've been battling Red for 8 minutes and experimenting with various things. I get hit with Thunder, and I'm going to try Zap Cannon. 50-50 shot of hitting, paralyzes every time, 2-hit KO. We get the full paralysis and the double Zap Cannon, but of course it doesn't knock out Blastoise. But I forgot Red can't full restore here, because this is not his highest level Pokemon. And so we may have a shot, but emphasis on the word may. Espeon is going to hit me with Reflect. No, I thought it was going to use Psychic, which actually isn't that big a deal. Okay, we're at 38. I'm going to go for Fly to gain a little bit more with lefties. We're level 61. Oh yeah, Snorlax. How am I going to deal with this? Let's go for Fly. That does, oh my god. Yeah. See, Snorlax is really bulky. This isn't gonna work, is it? I always try first to buy vitamins and see if that will make the difference. And we do eventually get all the way back to Espeon, which is pretty rare because we have to hit Zap Cannon. Once again, we get trolled with Earthquake. But by the time we knock out Espeon this time, we're at just 20 HP, which even once we burn Snorlax, isn't enough. So how are we going to finally make any progress? Well, first things first, 30% Thunder Miss seems like a must if we can't outspeed Pikachu. That means a good deal of our runs have to be reset right away, but it is what it is. Next, we went to the game corner and bought the TM for Thunder. It is stronger than Zap Cannon, and if it crits, which it did there, it is a one-shot versus Blastoise. Now, this Ho-Oh could not stop getting lucky. I go for Sacred Fire, anticipating Reflect. I don't get it, I get hit with 2 Psychics, and there the luck turns. Sacred Fire can miss, it does there. So we're at just 49 HP for Espeon, and yeah, that's a reset. The luck can't carry you. You need a strat. I mean, having to rely on Thunder to miss, it just isn't viable. So if you get hit by Thunder, then when you face Blastoise, I mean, the one nice thing about Thunder is Blastoise goes for Rain Dance. So that means Thunder will always hit twice, and we do outspeed, which is why Thunder is so good. Since Rain is up and Espeon likes to go for Reflect, I just go for Thunder, which is going to be a 3 KO. We get the paralysis, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. On the final hit, I do go for Fly to gain a little bit more HP. And look at that, 139 heading to Snorlax, actually 153 with lefties. Not terrible, but we've never gone past Snorlax. I go for Sacred Fire, no burn, Amnesia. I go for Sacred Fire, no burn, Amnesia. I go for Sacred Fire, yes burn, and yes crit. And this could be it. I go for Thunder versus Charizard, I miss. It hits me again, I go for Thunder, it hits, and then I go for Fly. I'm at just 37 HP, but Venusaur has nothing to damage me. Ho-Oh finally has won. But with all the going back and forth I needed to do, getting the vitamins, getting the various TMs, trying all these different strategies, the time unfortunately added up. And when I save my game after the credits, Ho took a disappointing 7 hours and 10 minutes, and that is with the crazy Elite Four run that we had. So why did Ho take so long if the video is so short? Well, the funny thing is, except for Red, Ho didn't actually lose that much, but it didn't one-shot as much as you'd like. And I think sometimes in these runs, it's the smaller trainer battles that often get forgotten. These battles in a can you beat run don't really matter, but in a how fast run, having to rely on Fly for so much of it, which is a 2-turn attack, and Sacred Fire, which constantly needs to be replenished, all of this caused Ho-Oh to be the 3rd worst legendary, so far, in Gold and Silver, the only 2 worst being Moltres and Articuno from Gen 1. Pokemon that normally you wouldn't even be able to catch natively in the game. So that's disappointing, but how's Lugia gonna do? I mean, Aeroblast is a physical attack, and Lugia is a more defensive Pokemon. Is it going to be able to eclipse Ho-Oh? Or is Lugia going to be the worst legendary Pokemon in Gold and Silver? Find out tomorrow on JRose11. Take care.